Hello and welcome to my video where I will be dismantling TF2 cheaters. And before we go on, I just want to say this very quickly. I'm not going to judge you for the weapons you play. I think everything is fun if you enjoy it. And at the end of the day, it's just you playing a game and having fun. It was just a video. And if you haven't watched this, I'm suggesting you do. That's that. Don't take anything that I say seriously. And to be honest, I didn't even think that my previous video would get more than 300 or 400 views. So thank you everyone who watched the previous video and liked, subscribed, and commented down below. Now, one thing I want to say about the TF2 community and, TF2 players overall is that they are absolute chads. I think the TF2 has one of the greatest, most intelligent and based communities ever. TF2 players are essentially playing an empty cell. TF2 is technically dead and it should be dead, but it's not. It's still going on and it's still running like a well-oiled machine, and that's all thanks to TF2 players and the TF2 community. Now you think, or you might say that I'm wrong, that these guys are diehard fanatics and that they don't care about your opinion because they're mogging you with 20k hours. But to be fair, I was roasting some very dominant playstyles on TF2, and even though the comments were very argumentative and they were disagreeing with me, and there were guys that disliked my video and just went and commented down below very respectfully about what they think. And honestly, that is based, bro. That's some very Chad behavior. I find that very admirable. And I think TF2 players have a very strong opinion against one topic. And certain type of people that we can all agree they're scumbags. And this is cheaters. Specifically TF2 cheaters. Because we're talking about TF2 and not something else. And what the fuck am I? Well, this is a topic that I really wanted to get into because yes, cheating in video games has always been prevalent, but I think we all know what I'm going to talk about, and that was the bot epidemic. So pretty much, as far as I know, TF2 had a very shitty problem with cheaters and bots roaming the servers. Everything was just unplayable. You were spawn camped into fucking hell. It was like you were fighting World War I on a trench with a butter knife. So yeah, my hats off to TF2 players for surviving that. God knows how they did. If my favorite game was infested with cheaters 24/7 and the developers didn't do shit about it, I'd be really pissed and eventually I'd leave the game. And that's where everyone predicted that TF2 is about to die. But no, TF2's community just rallied up together. It just went against Valve, the shit was viral, everyone was talking about it, and then boom, things changed, and things changed for the better. Valve got their attention on TF2. The thing was somewhat fixed to this day. There's plenty of cheaters that I see and that I come up to in my casual games, but what can you say? Better late than never and better something than nothing. I don't know if someone says that, but I did, so yeah, you get the point. So at this point, I only play casual and MVM. Haven't seen, or I don't think I've seen any cheaters on MVM, because why would you cheat against bots? That would make no fucking sense. You'd be stupid to do so. But there are some prominent TF2 casual cheaters. In my case, that I'm just a casual newbie that hasn't played the game for years. Some lobbies in casual are just chaotic. They are a complete clusterfuck, and there's not much you can do to spot a cheater if you're not very familiar with gameplay. For instance, I used to play CSGO and CS2, and in this game there is some sort of etiquette that you can realize whether the enemy is going by it or not. Maybe this guy is smurfing, or maybe he got lucky, or he's just fucking insane. But then again, what if he's cheating? And that's where you go to download the game and watch the replay and just, come to your conclusions. But in TF2, that's not a thing. I'm pretty sure that there's a third-party tool for that, if I'm correct. The thing on TF2 with cheaters is that the moment someone spots a cheater and they call them out, they're being instantly kicked. No matter if the cheater is in your team or in the opponent team, everyone's gonna be against them and they're gonna vote their ass off. And to me, that's just a delight. When a team on a casual match vote kicks their top scorer on the leaderboard and they just don't care whether they lose or not, that's something you don't see very often. It's just good sportsmanship. Also, there's like this one thing that I've noticed, and that is making some closet cheaters have the walk of shame. And that usually happens on Harvest and King of the Hill maps. They just know some people by their names and their profile and their history, and they just completely whip them off existence. And that's just so redeeming to watch. And what I mean by saying closet cheaters, essentially it's people that act as if they don't cheat, but they have a very, very active profile and they're not trying to hide it, but essentially that's what they do. They're expecting you to think, oh, he's not cheating, why would he cheat? He has an open profile, he has so many items, that's his main, and they have thousands of hours in TF2, but that doesn't mean they're not cheating. They're just very good at hiding that. And to be honest, I wouldn't be able to call out one closet cheater myself because I'm essentially a noob, even though I do have like almost 2,000 hours. I haven't played in a long time. I couldn't be able to tell. However, there was an instance of me that I was playing with a buddy of mine, TF2 on Harvest, and one guy just had a bizarre bargain and he just hit 31 kills and 0 deaths on just one round. We absolutely vote kicked his ass off, but he was essentially a closet cheater. He was just boasting and pretending to be a very good player, but with 1,200 hours, I don't think any person or any living being on this planet could achieve a 31 kills and 0 deaths on Harvest unless the enemy team was actively feeding him, and that wasn't a thing. So yeah. Also, one last story of me of how I ever got my first VAC ban, and I will just say this story and close this video. My first ever VAC ban. You guys are probably gonna call me out for cheating. No, fuck, no, I'm not cheating. I was like 10 or 12. Okay, almost everyone that I know has a VAC ban on a record, and that's either whether it's false or someone fucking mass reported you or you just did something very stupid like I did. That is my case. Okay, so essentially I was like 10, 11, 12, I don't remember. It was like the first ever years that I've ever played TF2 in my life. And I just wanted to see for myself, how is it to cheat and have aimbot on or wallhack on? And my dumbass at the time didn't know shit about the internet and how things work. You don't just go and grab any free cheat engine in TF2 and you just go and roll some heads. That's not how it works. So I downloaded this thing on my computer. I was probably railed in the ass by a couple hundred Trojans and rootkits and whatnot, and I just got into a very, very ominous, like lonely server with no Valve anti-cheat protection on the community browser tab. I just got in and there were only 2 guys. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get in, I'm gonna spawn cap those 2 guys. There's no Valve anti-cheat protection. That was what my stupid childish brain was thinking. And guess what? Well, one guy on the server actively playing and one other guy having a no clip on. And that was very odd because you don't really watch players having no clip on TF2 servers and lobbies. Like there's something wrong there. Well, the other guy that had no clip was the owner or the admin or both. The moment I joined the lobby, instead of having the aimbot on with some sort of keybind or something, this fucking thing or this fucking malware that I had on my PC just kept spamming on the global chat. This is Cheat Engine 101. Get it yourselves now on my website and you will be rolling heads. The owner realized that I was cheating and I was just trying to get into his server and start spawn counting people, and he just instantly banned me off the existence of the universe. I was long gone before I even realized what the fuck happened. I got in, literally in the first 15 seconds I got out. And this guy realized that I was trying to cheat on his server. He just opened a ticket, I guess. He just reported me to Valve and boom. Not half an hour later, I was VAC banned. Couldn't join any server, nothing. Absolutely nothing. I was demolished. And rightfully so. Rightfully so. That was my first ever instance of me cheating and it was totally deserved. And that's how I learned. And that's how you guys should learn, and you shouldn't fucking cheat because that's a very scumbag behavior to have. So yeah, that's all. That's it. Comment down below about your experience and your stories with cheaters. And perhaps you've cheated in the past and now you've learned, just like I did when I was 12 years old. Glad you stayed till the end. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. That's all for now and hope to see you on the next one.